Hey, Chael, are we ever going to see Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall? This is a question I got asked, and I want to answer this for you guys publicly. I want a story told the way the story happened. Everybody's got a thing, right? You got your thing, but that's my thing. It's got to be told accurately. Now, I actually took a course in college. This is what influenced me. And I was supposed to write a paper about how the Indians had discovered America. Or I apologize. When we came to America, that the Indians were already here. I was supposed to write a paper on this, so I did. And I wrote about how this helicopter, and it brought them in. It wasn't true. It wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be an idea. I went to the teacher's office hours. And this was one of my tricks throughout college. I could not get anything less than an A, even if it'd be an A minus, because I would always go to the office hours. Always. I'd never miss. I'd say, here's what I'm about to turn in. What do you think? They're now on a spot to tell me, and I would take those notes and I would go change it, and then I would turn it in the way they told me that I should. It was just one of these tricks that I did. But I sat there in that professor's office, and he says, Chael, why are you saying Columbus came here on a helicopter? Why would you use that example? You're trying to get Columbus to America, and you're fully aware that he used a ship. Why don't you just say he used a ship? He used a ship. I changed that paper. But I also realized the importance in that moment of, if you're going to tell a story, tell it accurately. When you have the opportunity, there's plenty of things that we have to guess. And there's plenty of theories out there that make a level of sense. There's other things that we know what happened. And when those times present themselves, you must tell it. I say this because I am by no means anything less than a detractor of Jon Jones. But I can't stand by and hear when people say that Jon is afraid to fight and then fill in the blank. First off, I have to correct it, because it's not a unique thing to Jon Jones and his skill set. You could say no fighter's afraid, or you could say every fighter's afraid. I couldn't possibly care less. I don't know what the point is. I do not know what the point is. Unless there's an inference and you have some level of proof that that fear, that emotion that you're calling fear, stopped the fighter from going through with something. If we're having that conversation, feel free to bring it. There is nothing within Jon Jones's past that would make you think, regardless of fear, it has held him up from moving forward in his pursuit of his own personal dreams. There's just nothing there. The narrative 1 week ago, and it started 4 months ago, was that Jon Jones would not fight Sergey Pavlich. The end. People were making artwork, and they're putting it out there, and Sergey and John Small, and they had all these different reasons, and they could prove it. And then Jon started talking about retirement. Now, Jon got pulled into retirement talk. He never meant it, and he never even thought it. It got stated somewhere. Jon saw it and thought, this could be a good marketing opportunity. I'm trying to sell some pay-per-views. It wasn't a good idea. It was a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea to the point that it will stop. Like, there's nothing different about Jones and Stipe now than there was a week ago, other than we got to wait a year, and they're both basically dinosaurs. And I guarantee you, when these two dinosaurs come together to fight over this belt, no one's going to talk about retirement, because it's weird. It was the wrong thing to do here, but a year from now, and in the presence of a reigning, young, willing, and healthy interim champion, it's weird. Mark my words. Just mark my words. It was never real. This retirement stuff. Never. It was a marketing ploy. But I got to bring that to you because Jon isn't always smart enough to know that. I'm not positive that Jon would go, yeah, Chael's right. I was doing that for Mark. I'm not sure that he knows the difference. He starts saying things and he starts believing them. It's halfway a secret to his success. He starts saying, I'm really great at this sport. I can beat up everybody. And then the next thing you know, right, he like kind of manufactures these things. The laws of attraction are real, whether you want to buy the book, The Secret, or not. The laws of attraction are very real. Why the book, The Secret, might be a bunch of crap. I'm just sharing with you. I don't know that Jon knows that he's heard somebody else say it. It could have been subconscious. Somewhere along the way, he thought it was good for business. So he went with it. The problem with that is if he isn't fully aware, I'm talking about Jon here, if he's not fully aware of the reason that he ever started saying the make-believe retirement talk in the first place, then it will become real. He'll forget about that. He'll focus in on one guy, do just enough to beat this guy, won't have an open mind like he's always had, won't be a broad stroke, won't take on all comers. I'm just sharing for you, but mark my words, when this fight comes around, there's nothing different about it. But if we do it 10 months from now, that word won't be brought up. There is no reason for any of us to wait 10 months to do a match that's going to be their last match. None. Zero. Zero. You have the best promoter in the world in charge of telling this story. The world's worst promoter wouldn't make that mistake. So just to show you how insincere it is, understand nothing's new, and you'll never hear that word again associated with that fight. Now, I bring this to you because I cannot sit back and let it ride that Jon Jones is scared of somebody. And a month ago, I apologize, a week ago that started 5 months ago, it was specifically Sergey Pavlich. It was not Surreal. It was not an up-and-comer. It was not Aspinall. It wasn't a combination of these guys. It was specifically Sergey Pavlich. The reason that's a problem for me, when I'm talking about telling the story accurately, bring Columbus in on a boat, don't bring him in on a helicopter, don't teleport him here. The reason it's a problem is when Sergey Pavlich was named the backup fighter, that means Stipe and Jon both agreed to fight Sergey. And that's one part about it that gets missed. It's one part that I'm not ready to let go. It's one part about where I still don't understand why Stipe was in the front row and not in the ring. Sergey had already agreed to fight Stipe. Should Jon pull out, bring me in, coach. Stipe had already agreed to fight Sergey. Bring me in, coach, to the point that he followed through with the airfare, went to the event. Now, I'm not looking to die on this hill. I've just got to correct you. You just can't say that Jon Jones isn't willing to do that. He already agreed to do that. That's just part of the story. So now what was true a week ago and started 5 months ago with Sergey Pavlich as it pertains to Jon is long gone. And people did try just for a cup of coffee there to insert Francis Ngannou. Well, Francis will beat him. That's okay to say. That's fine to say. Because now you're sharing an opinion. But where they tried to sprinkle, Jon refused to fight him. Jon didn't come back until he was gone. The timeline just doesn't match up. So when you start to look at will Tom fight Aspinall, that question always comes from a standpoint of would he be willing to do it? Would Tom be willing to do it? Tom's been very praiseworthy of Jon. Tom has said publicly, when he hears all the accolades about himself, I'm on my way. Things are going well. I'm not ready for him. Now, that was a while ago. As a matter of fact, the time that Tom said it was almost 2 years ago, and he said, I need 3 fights before I get to Jon. Well, he's had 2. So I'm not maintaining for you that Tom isn't willing to do it. I'm just sharing for you when you start to ask the question of will these guys fight? It comes from a notion of are they willing to? Jon's already agreed to fight Pavlich. It's never been asked of Jon to fight Tom. Tom was not the backup fighter. Tom was not put in that spot. Tom was one of his last 2. He's now got the interim belt. And I'm just telling you, if you want to bag on Jon, go ahead. I don't believe that Jon and Stipe are going to fight, at least not the way we have it now. Right now, they're going to fight. It's a retirement fight for both, and the interim title's up. Oh, by the way, it's going to be in about 10 months. Of those ingredients, I do not believe all 4 of those ingredients hold up. At least one of them goes. And so now you got a question of, would Tom fight Jon? Yeah, I don't understand why he wouldn't. I'm a little bit confused by the question. I'm a little bit confused that that's being put on Jon's lap. The interim champion fights the undisputed champion. Everybody knows that. We fiercely adhere to the rules that we make up on the fly. But everybody knows that one, right? Everybody knows a healthy undisputed champion takes on the healthy interim champion. So now you have the idea of will the champion flex his muscle? Because he absolutely has the ability. I don't put that on Jon, by the way. Jon's got one job to do at all times. Get the biggest paycheck for the easiest opponent. I don't put that on Jon. But I will tell you, he's got the power to do it. He knows how to come to you, the media. He does not need to go, oh, this is what the UFC wanted. I'm just going to do it. It's whatever they wanted. In this case, he has the power to come out and do it. I don't know where that's going to go, and I don't even know that I'm arguing for you that he should do it. But when you try to suggest that Jon is scared and therefore unwilling to do it, there's something extremely important if you do want to be able to look back on this with a fondness that Jon takes on the younger guys. Now, one of the stories of Jon's career, and I've read this a million times, and it is accurate, that he only fights older guys. It's accurate, but it has to be accurate when you have the moniker of the youngest world champion of all time. Mike Tyson only fought older guys. He fought an old man to win the belt. There was Larry Holmes, who was the champion at the time, but Mike was 19. I mean, it's one of those things, like the way your memory tells you that Jon is only fighting these old or these veterans or these has-beens. That wasn't so at the time. He was 23 years old. Of course he was fighting with the Shoguns. Of course he was fighting with the Machitas and the Sonnens and the Vitors and the Rampages. And it is very important that he test himself in this next era if that's something in longevity you want to do. There is not a scenario where Jon Jones, regardless of success or victories, there is not a scenario that when he leaves this sport, a narrative of he left without fighting that guy doesn't exist. Right now, that guy's Tom Aspinall. But 1 week ago, it was Sergey Pavlich, and 8 days before that, it was Francis Ngannou. So the only constant denominator that you have to know, if you're Jon and you're his psyche, is you're never going to beat that headline. Don't even try. Fight the easiest guy for the most money and do it every time.